we don't have to wait, right? We don't have to wait for our life to just evolve into whatever it might become. We all have agency and we can get in there and make things happen. Things that we want to have happen. And that is why I have a fire under me right now.
Welcome back to In Residence. I'm Keith.
And I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. What's going on? I feel like you're going to be leading the conversation here, so I'm kind of excited to see what you're going to bring up.
Well, I don't know if I'll be leading it, but I have a lot of things in my head today.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last week, I listened to Brendon Burchard's book, The 6 Habits of Growth, Get Unstuck and Create the Life of Your Dreams, which is on Audible. It's an Audible original. I also started incorporating his high performance journal or planner into my morning routine.
Which we talked about last time, right? It turned into us talking about planning.
It did. I'm not going to lie. I feel a little bit like I have a fire under me right now.
You're invigorated for sure.
I definitely am. So the practices that he presented in the book feel very simple, but also somewhat hard to do. And since it was Audible, I didn't really take notes. That's why when we're sitting here, you're like, ooh, what are you doing? I'm interested to see. Because I'm trying to remember some of the big chunks that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm going to have to listen to the book again.
Yeah.
Should I tell you what the 6 habits are?
Yeah, because I have no idea.
Okay.
Because you told me that you listened to it, but no idea what it's about, aside from what the title gives away.
Right. So the first the first habit that he talks about is motivation, and really attending to helping yourself be motivated for pursuing your goals. I think we've all experienced when you're super motivated to do something and then eventually that kind of wanes.
Yep. Hills and valleys, right?
Hills and valleys. You know, there's fire under you like there is with me right now. And then how long will it take for it just to like peter out? And so what he talks about is that motivation goes away, but it can be fueled either by attention or by momentum. I know when I was on a roll and was training for and running 5Ks, I had momentum. I knew my training days, I knew my long run days, and I knew when my race day was. It was easy for me to have motivation to do my runs because I had momentum. I could feel that pulling towards achieving that goal.
You had your routine and you had the habit.
Right. Exactly. On the other hand, though, sometimes momentum, there's breaks in it, shifts, unexpected things happen.
I mean, that brings up for me expecting the unexpected, right? Like that's that saying that people bring up. But with this, it's more of be ready for there to be a dip in your time, your energy level, the resources you have. Instead of getting down about it, understand that it's going to come, because that's just like the natural cycle. Is like you can't go. You have to have a little refractory period where you relax and so just build it in and understand and not being so hard on yourself, right? That's what I think really could pair well with this, that people, they hold themselves to such high standards when it comes to that thing that they're invigorated about, and then all of a sudden a few days later you're like, oh, where'd all my energy and momentum go? And it's like, well, you have to build in, like we're talking about, like planning, like build in some space to become reinvigorated, right?
Exactly. And so fueling that, like you were saying, building in that time and that attention and that focus can really help you continue that motivation. And so I found this week I've been using the prompts from that high performance journal, because for those of you that listened last time, and Keith, if you remember, I was really struggling with, I want to start on March 1st.
Yeah. That was really funny. Listening back and editing, I'm like, oh, there was resistance. Like you said, I'm going to do this. And then you're like, wait, hold on. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't start because it's the date on the calendar isn't matching up to what my ideal start date is.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is funny. And I do it too. I'm sure I do it. I'm probably even more egregious with like stopping myself before I start.
Right.
Actually, we've documented many instances in which I talk about stopping myself before I start.
So jumping into that, even though I wasn't doing it in the journaling pages, I started that today.
Yeah.
So that's off to the races. But this past week, I was just playing with some of the questions in there, the questions around morning mindset, the questions around what are your 3 goals for today? What are the 3 things that have to happen today? And started working through that. And I realized I got really clear about what it was needed to happen that day and the mindset of how do I want to show up and who do I want to be as I'm going throughout my day, as I'm doing the things that need to be done and the goals I'm trying to pursue. It seems so small, but it really shifted. It really shifted how I approached my day, even just from a mindset.
It's like, oh, imagine that. If I focus a little bit or take the time, I get something back from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You maybe a year or two ago, you got us some like Post-its that have top 3.
Oh, that's right. I did.
And there's another one too. I'm not quite sure. It might be like a habit thing or something. But I used that the other day because I was doing the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm not quite making forward progress on things. I keep intending to, but I haven't actually cemented those intentions and then moved it into action steps.
Right.
And so I did that the other week, and it was really helpful. And so I'm trying to do that too. So that's kind of funny that it came up in there. So, and I'm sure it's from some ideology of like how to move a project forward is like focus on your top 3 things for the day, you know. So
yeah,
I think it can be really powerful to. That's almost like it's like setting that floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's been on my mind a lot because there's something about that helps me, a pun intended, stay grounded. Like ground myself with a floor. Everything beyond that can be a bonus, but I also don't need to overexert myself so that I can keep coming back and have momentum instead of being burnt out. Anyway.
So that's the first habit is motivation. The next habit he talked about was focus. And so here he presented 10 different areas of your life to really check in with yourself and see, how am I doing? Am I doing great? Am I doing not so great?
Are these like life accounts?
Yeah, I would say that. So the ones he talks about: mental health, physical health, family, friends, finances, mission, spirit, adventure, learning, and growth.
Yeah.
So a different set of life accounts or areas.
It digs down a little deeper than the designing your life leaves it kind of these bigger, broader categories that you can define your own subcategories, which I like. I like that they have learning in there in this book.
Yep. And growth.
I just added that to mine. I've been doing the work, love, play, and health. And then just over the last week, I started realizing I need to really lean into learning.
Yeah.
And not get stuck in it, but use it as a springboard forward.
Yeah. So I think that is helpful.
Does it do focus? Does it do like a red, yellow, green, like a quick check-in, or is it just saying like, hey, check in with yourself?
It's more like so the beginning part is more like on a scale of this to this.
Yeah.
Where are you at? But with the intent of saying, okay, so now that you know where you're at, how can you build habits to make sure that you are improving the things that you really want to focus on, and then capturing that in a journal, in how you're tracking your habits, things like that.
Super important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming up in our discussions as well as things that we're reading to assist our growth and our learning. You have to know where you're starting at. That was even our first episode was starting.
Yeah.
And it's simply a start, and then you go from there.
Yeah.
So what's the next one?
So the third habit is confidence.
Ooh.
And so
should give me some of that.
this one was interesting to me. Confidence as a habit, to me, makes it feel like it's something that you can learn and practice, and it's not just something you have.
Yeah, it's a skill.
It's a skill. One thing he talked about quite a bit was about self-doubt, and he told several stories about his own self-doubt. But I think we all have those where we doubt our capability, our skill level. Even like with this podcast, we were definitely like, can we do this? Well, let's just try it. How many people will really listen?
Right.
Right?
I think that feeling or that understanding of doubting yourself it's stronger if you're looking to level up. If you're putting your energy into a project and you need to also expect, well, I need to take time to come down from that and center myself so that I have more energy to go back up the hill again. It's the same with if you're trying to get better or improve or make a change, you're going to have these thoughts and feelings of I can't do this or who am I?
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a thing that many people go through. It's just that some people don't understand it. They just feel it and haven't quite identified that self-doubt. It's maybe just a low feeling like I was having the other week, or whatever they may interpret it as. They maybe just don't have the vocabulary or the tools or have heard anybody talking about it. Like we've talked about imposter syndrome is basically just a different way of saying self-doubt. That wasn't a word. That wasn't in the vernacular, and the more people talk about it and the more people have conversations and share a book like this, like you're sharing it with me, so when I go to listen to it, it's going to help. I love how I guess it's coming back to learning and getting the information helps me move forward as long as I don't over-index on it and only consume versus sharing it and spreading it. And so.
Yeah. I really like that you brought up imposter syndrome, because when I think about confidence as a habit, the imposter syndrome is somewhat, it feels almost like an identity you assume is an imposter in something. And so when you're in that moment, I think it's really hard to get yourself out of that, to move towards that confident piece. You can fake it till you make it, but you're not necessarily confident, but you still can learn, you still can prepare, right? You can still build that muscle and try and be like, okay, I am going to go for it, and I'm going to get used to doing something, even though I am doubting myself, and it might be awkward and it might be weird, but I think that's okay, and that's going to help me build that muscle.
Yeah, and I think not identifying that feeling as a big part of yourself and realizing that it's a voice, like the resistance or the shadow part that's trying to keep you from changing, and not identifying with it and making yourself own that, and realizing it's like stubbing your toe. The pain is there for a little bit and there's a feeling there, but it's going to go away. Just because you stubbed your toe, that doesn't mean that your toe is always going to hurt, but it can feel intense right away. It's not taking extreme measures in reaction to the thing. I guess maybe I'm trying to say accepting that it's going to happen. Just like maybe a birthday celebration happens. It comes around and it's going to come around again. And so for me, imposter syndrome, it comes around and it comes around again and again. But I'm getting better and better at saying, hey, I see you coming to sit next to me and to give me your unsolicited opinion, trying to tell me why I can't do something, but I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to do this anyway. I still hear it, but I'm getting better at ignoring that sound. And I think it just comes with practice. It's going to come back sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm just, again, it's back to that. I'm going to just expect it and not be so thrown
when it comes.
Yeah.
Do you ever do something, maybe it's not because you have imposter syndrome, but you simply know that it's uncomfortable and you want to flex that muscle and get in reps to help it become less uncomfortable.
Doing it anyway, right? Yeah. My new training, my physical training that I'm doing,
Okay.
very uncomfortable. Like burning sensation in my arms when I'm doing it. And I do it anyway because there's going to be growth that comes out of that stress and that tension and that overload. But I also know that once I'm done with that part of it, I take time to recover.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good example from like a physical standpoint. But if you think about kind of
How do we translate
like
that?
emotional standpoint, and I'm just going to throw this out there. When I was in graduate school, I was in a class around counseling and mental health. And one thing that I had to do as one of my assignments was select 3 different activities that would make me uncomfortable. And I had to do them and journal on them, talk about how it went, what it felt like. And
just like asking for a discount for coffee.
Well, I thought about that. So the ones I picked.
That makes me feel so cringy.
So the ones I picked, I want you to talk about that next.
Yeah.
The ones that I picked all had to do with me going out into the world alone and doing something in a social setting that I wasn't used to doing by myself. So I think I ended up going out to supper at a sit-down restaurant by myself. I went to a church that was a very different denomination than what I grew up. And then I think I went to a movie by myself. But the whole point was you want to learn how to be social when you don't know anyone else and get more comfortable in those situations of how do you introduce yourself to people that are near you. So I thought that was a good exercise of saying, okay, so I may doubt myself that I can be normal and I won't be awkward in social situations, but you know what? Maybe I can go in and talk to people I don't know, learn about things that I'm not used to doing, and grow a little bit. So next time it won't be quite so hard. So that was like an example I had. I want you to talk about the coffee example though, because I just heard it on a podcast with Tim and Gary V, Tim Ferriss and Gary V.
Yeah, I'm sure I heard it from there or someone else, but that's like a challenge that somebody would give someone to get out of their comfort zone. And that's, I mean, exactly what you were doing, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, because that's how you grow your comfort zone instead of just staying small. But the idea of going and asking for a discount.
I think they said every time you get coffee the next month, ask for a discount.
The thought of that makes me feel so uncomfortable. I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Which means I should probably go do it, to be honest. But yeah, that it's an interesting exercise. Because that's how you grow, pushing through the discomfort. We talk about it all the time. What's the smallest step? What's a small win? Making it doable and easy will get you so far. But at a certain point, you got to kind of ratchet that up to get the real growth.
Right. Is there anything that is going on right now in your life that you have doubt about that you'd like to try and develop this confidence habit around?
I mean, for me, it's probably creating a situation in which I get paid to do the work that I do, and the work that I know I can do. We say it to each other all the time. We're not great at valuing our contributions financially, getting paid. That's a new thing for me to tackle. For the most part, I've always been employed versus self-employed.
Right.
And I have the convenient crutch of being the primary caregiver to our children. So I've got these little things that I can fall back on when I feel uncomfortable, and I can make these excuses. But I'm looking forward, and I've been working, and we had a conversation about how do I move forward and lean into that discomfort and grow professionally. Maybe that's the biggest thing. And if there's something else that you can think of, it's really helpful to have a partner like you that can see the things that I don't see. And that kind of popped in my head when we were talking about maybe the second or third step here, where it's like, just pushing through and doing the hard thing. And I'm like, well, what makes that a little easier is having someone that has my back and is there to help nudge me along, so.
Right.
But yeah, like I need to, I've got so much that I want to do in this life and so many skills and privileges that I feel like I can put to good use helping other people get to where they want to go. And I think I'm a generous person and a caring person and empathetic, right?
You are. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I don't deserve to be paid for my work. And a big part of that means I need to be clear and concise and show people the value that I bring is much more than what they would be paying for,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm invigorated to move forward in that process and getting kind of over that hump that I haven't quite tackled yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. One thing that I face a lot of self-doubt around is posting on social media. I posted today on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn today.
Nice.
Yep, I did post on all three. I felt pretty good about them, but it doesn't mean that I was super comfortable. It doesn't mean that tomorrow or the next day when I post again, I'm going to be super comfortable. I'm working on it. I'm learning. I posted a story and a post today on Instagram, and it showed up differently on Facebook. I'm like, well, that's odd because everything's linked. That's something where I feel like I can have more confidence in developing that presence that I've talked about wanting to do for probably the last 3 years. And the last post, do you want to guess when my last post was on social?
November 23.
August of 24.
Okay.
So it was a little sooner, but we went to a concert and that was my last post.
Right.
It was the Green Day concert. Yep.
Makes sense.
But I think I can do more and it'll get easier and I'll feel more confident as I practice that. I'll get there.
Both of us are pushing the boundaries of our comfort in being seen.
Yeah.
But I think that's what holds most people back, of kind of afraid of being seen, or that vulnerability that comes with that.
Yeah.
And that brings up the I'm not good enough, who am I? That's how we talk about it a lot. But I don't think we're the only ones that feel that way. Is what I'm putting out good enough? Who cares? Who wants to listen to me? Who wants to hear from me? The internal voice that badgers you into not doing the next one, and then that's where the momentum kind of slowly wanes, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we've done 3: motivation, focus, confidence.
We only did 3?
We only did 3.
Okay.
Yep. The next one is energy. When I was listening to this, it made me smile because we talk so much about the importance of this. And sometimes I feel like we talk about it almost too much for what we're doing.
How so?
Well, so energy is really making sure that you are giving yourself and your body what it needs to really energize you to do the work and live your life the way you want. So he talks about the importance about getting your meds every day. And I didn't know this, but he said, meds is something that coaches use all the time. And it stands for M, meditation, E, exercise, D, diet, and S, sleep.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Get your meds every day.
Yep.
And it made me smile because that is something over the last couple years I have really focused in on. And when I get 7 or more hours of sleep, when I get my diet and filling my body with food that feels good in my body and hydration, I think I can add hydration there because that's really important too.
Absolutely.
But when I get movement and I make time for meditation or breathing exercises or some way to manage my mind, that's really, really helpful. So that was the fourth habit, was energy. Get your meds.
It just brings up doing that and being mindful of your energy. I need my energy so that I can do the work, and so I have the energy to come back and do the work again and again and on and on. And so this is all about not just having energy, but what are you doing to make sure you have energy?
Exactly.
Right? What's the self-care?
Yeah.
Right?
Because how many times have we said or heard we aren't going to be any good to anybody else if we don't take care of ourselves first? Right? And I would say that extends to the project isn't going to benefit the way that it needs to if you're not taking care of yourself. One thing I find to be incredibly important, when I was a younger professional, I would work. I'd bring work home. I'd work in the morning. I'd always be on my phone. I'd get all my email notifications coming in, and I'd pop on really quick, like, oh, somebody emailed me, must respond right now. And that was great, but it made it to the point where I wasn't carving out time for daily movement. There was a point in our lives when our diet, we knew what we should eat, but it was easier to pick up food from a fast food place, to get something that was just throw it in the oven and it'll be ready in 45 minutes, because we weren't necessarily paying attention consistently.
Well, we were putting our energy into like careers, right?
Of course.
So then we didn't have energy to focus on our health.
Yep.
So then we weren't even fueling our bodies with something that gave us energy to put the energy into our work.
Yep.
And so it's like this cycle where we just weren't supporting ourselves in the best way to help us be the most successful version, and probably too much emphasis on work.
Right. And cutting the sleep down so you could just work more. And also like that constant stream of emails coming in and responding all the time. Sometimes you absolutely need to be on, right? Sometimes you do. But there's something about, and I don't know if it's meditation, but it is managing your mind and your impulse. And that was really hard for me because I always wanted to, an example, I used to go to conferences and I would constantly be on email just responding to everybody. I know people do that, but I found I did that. Somebody was paying for me to go somewhere. I wasn't as good as I could be to the people I was answering the emails to because I wasn't there, right? I didn't have all the materials I needed to give the best response I probably could. And I wasn't taking in the information in any sort of way that I could retain it and use it well. And so I really didn't have the energy for either pieces of those at the end of the day. It just kind of led to burnout.
Yeah.
And constant chatter, mental chatter.
They say, like, first thing in the morning, don't grab your phone. And I'm guilty of it because it's my clock. But there's a habit of, well, let me just check. Let me just check. And so I've been working on, if the alarm is set, stop the alarm. Don't have to look at my phone to do that. And plus I can't see because I don't have my glasses on in the morning. But I can see the big button, tap it, and I want to not pick up my phone, go get coffee, and resist picking my phone up when I come back with my cup of coffee. And that's something I want to work on, where even if I can just be like, okay, Monday morning, I'm going to, because it's easy on the weekends.
Right.
But during the week, even when I know, like, my first step after getting the kids ready for school is I want to journal. If I didn't get up early enough to do it before, I want to do it when I get back. And it's like, why do I need to be on my phone for that? So there's like, it's something that I've been pretending to work on.
Yeah.
Kind of calling myself out right now because I actually tried the other day and it was insidious. I was like, oh wait, how do I spell that word? So I grabbed my phone because there's a dictionary on it.
Yep.
And guess what? After I looked up the word, I was still on my phone. Another 15 extra seconds, I was automatically going to like maybe the next app that I would typically go to. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like, need to break this cycle, you know? And it's tricky because I trained myself to do it a certain way.
You've developed that habit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and that is hard. I will say, because every morning I journal and I know something is off with me from a energy standpoint when I'm grabbing my phone and continuing to hold on to it and not able to get through my routine. I get actually really frustrated with myself. I've done everything from tally the number of times I've tried to touch or do something on my phone as I'm trying to journal. I've journaled about why am I distracted by my phone instead of journaling? What am I trying to avoid? And it's really tricky. I've even gotten to the point where I've touched my phone and I've said, nope. I've said it out loud. Nope, not now. Now is the time to journal. Some of it is trying to catch myself and reinforce my habit isn't to journal and disrupt it constantly with my phone.
Exactly.
The habit I want is to be able to journal in a fairly streamlined way where it's you. It's me.
It's you on the page versus what did I just pick up my phone and interrupt my flow with? And now what did that put in my brain and what's that putting on the page?
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of times our brains are always trying to get that instant satisfaction, right? And to be entertained. It's how we are built. But the one thing for me that I do, so I have an Aura ring, and I don't know if it doesn't matter if I've talked about it or not before, but I have an Aura ring.
It's like a little health tracker.
Yeah, it's like a health tracker. I wear it for sleeping all throughout the day, so I can just check in, how's my heart rate doing consistently, respirations, temperature, sleep patterns, all that good stuff. The trick that my brain now knows to do is I track every day whether or not I have gotten my 7 hours or more of sleep. But since I have an Aura ring that can tell me exactly how much time I spent in bed, deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep, I always verify it and then I'm on my phone, right? It's like, oh, well, maybe I should really quick check and see if the price dropped on that t-shirt that Keith wanted me to order.
Yeah.
You know, or, oh, remember I need to pay that bill, our heating bill. Maybe I could just do that quick and check it off my list. Like, that's where my brain is like, just get her to pick up the phone to verify the number of hours, even though she knows. Like, I know what time I go to bed and what time my alarm's set, and that's 7 hours to 8 hours. So my brain is a tricky mistress sometimes.
So I have a note that I can't remember exactly what I was listening to. I usually try to write down what I'm listening to when I get these ideas, but I wrote down our brains bend reality. And my note kind of to myself under that was like the shadow self distorts our perception. And we kind of talked about that. But what you were saying, like our brains being tricky, I'm like, yeah, they literally bend reality to let us get what we think we want. You know, whether it's true or not is very interesting. You know, our perception is very tricky.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, it's like you're like, okay, I'm gonna check my readiness score from from my Aura ring.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
I'm doing today.
You're on Pinterest.
Yep.
It's like, it's like, I almost want to chuck my phone across the room when that happens to me, like whatever I'm doing. And all of a sudden I'm like, what am I doing?
Why am I looking up chicken recipes?
Yeah. You know, like what comes to mind with that is blocking the time. If it's planned, that's fine because I'm intentionally doing the thing I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I was getting at. I don't want to be grabbing my phone for the first 25 minutes I'm awake, going through motions. I think my time would be better spent meditating or journaling or simply getting sunlight on my face.
Yeah.
You know? So, and that's just me. And I, speaking of our brains bending reality, whenever I hear someone saying, oh, it's not great to be on your phone and right away in the morning and, oh, you know, definitely don't want blue light at night. I'm just like, oh, yep, you don't want to do that. And then I'm there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
How out of touch with my habits am I when I'm nodding along, listening to this advice, and then I'm ignoring it?
Yeah.
So it feels a little hypocritical and a little delusional.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that I want to work at, getting a little further away from those unhelpful knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah.
A mindless thing where I'm not adding anything to anything or getting anything from anything. It's just,
Right.
what am I doing? I'm just
Yeah.
mindlessly scrolling or tapping, and
Yep.
all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I could be doing so many different things.
Right.
What's the next one?
The next one? The next one is the habit of purpose.
Purpose.
Sorry. Oh, that makes me smile. And so this one is really thinking about, how do you make sure that every day you're living with your purpose in mind? I mean, again, thinking about your morning mindset, because none of us really know how much time we have left, right?
Yeah.
Not to go there, but thinking about, I think you say this, what would make today great, right? What are the things that would make today great that would fulfill your greater purpose? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to be known for? What impact do you want to leave on the world and the people that you know? A lot of that often comes back to our whys for the things that we want to do. I think whys can also help us continue that momentum forward if it's up front, and if you continue to see that why. I see that purpose really as, what is your why? And how do you keep grounding yourself to it?
Yeah.
And reminding yourself of it.
That North Star.
Yeah.
Right? That thing that guides me. Absolutely. There's the book I picked up, a friend recommended.
Okay.
Was it The Ultimate Coach?
Oh, yeah. You were telling me about that last night.
The back cover lists off several things. You need to be ready to ask yourself, who will I need to be a more loving person? Who will I need to be a more effective parent, to create a level of confidence that is remarkable, to be at peace with who I am, to be fully in love with myself and my life, to live the most extraordinary life I can, right? So that's a big part of why I picked up that book.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's there. And I'm like, oh, these are the things I ask myself or think about. Maybe not that clearly.
Sure.
But we've brought that up plenty of times, is how do I lead and design the best life? And for me, I ask myself recently more than ever, how do I be a better dad? That's important for me to show up in those ways. And so asking ourselves, what do I need to do to be these things that I'm going to say, these are my North Stars, these are the things, these are the whys of why I'm showing up, is super powerful for me. But I have maybe the personality where some of these other habits would serve me very well. I focus on purpose and whys, but then where's the action? So I'm wondering if there's like another one, a habit in there that's that. I'm actually really excited about. Is there anything else you want to say about this purpose section?
No, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward, but I also think it's hard in practice to center around consistently.
Well, that's why you go back to it, right? And ask yourself,
journal,
ask yourself these questions and reflect. And it's okay to change your mind or to realize like, oh, that's not me anymore. Or circumstances have changed and I haven't. Oh, maybe I need to change, or maybe I need to change my circumstances, like it can become a lot of word salad, but a lot of these things that we're talking about here with this is, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
It can be easy, but just because it's simply stated, like ask yourself this or focus on your health. Yeah, the concept is simple, but in theory it's one thing and in practice it's another. And I mean, that's kind of the work, I think.
Right. So there's one more.
Okay.
The final habit that he talked about was leadership.
Ooh.
Yeah. And really thinking about leadership in a way of, how do you enlist others? How do you influence and persuade others? to join you? How do you handle conflict? But just really the importance of leadership, helping everyone around you really perform at their best, and how important that is for growth.
Like, how are you going to show up?
Right. And I will say, I think sometimes leadership is synonymous with what position do you have, what titles in front of your door, on your door or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that you can lead from no matter what position you're in, no matter what role you're playing. And so
absolutely,
I think that that's one of our takes on this is it doesn't have to necessarily, and I don't know if he really said it's a position power sort of a thing.
But that word can connotate leadership position.
Right.
Versus being a leader. You can be a leader from any position.
Yep.
And in any facet of your life, deciding, like, that's why I say, oh, how are you going to show up?
Mm-hmm.
You get to decide how that comes through, whether it's personally, professionally, and all the things that fall in those categories. Like for me, I may not show up a certain way asking the barista for 20% off.
Yeah.
Somebody else might have a different way of showing up.
Fair.
But if you get me a hockey stick and a little time to stretch and warm up, you're going to see me show up a different way on the ice.
Right.
There's a time and place for those different things, how I show up in different aspects of my life, I guess.
Yeah. So those were the 6 different habits. So to recap: motivation, focus, confidence, energy, purpose, and leadership. What do you think?
I'm excited to listen to the book and see. You said it was fairly quick. Listen.
Yeah, it's about 4 hours.
Yeah, so it'd take me like 2.5.
I know we went through the 6, but this is Keith and Laura's take on these big buckets.
You basically read the headline.
The headline, yeah. Brendon Burchard does such a great job. And the way he approaches the book, if I understand from him correctly, I think he recorded it based on bullets and themes he wanted to talk about, and then just talked.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. He has some really great stories that illustrate a lot of these points. And I'd really encourage anyone who's interested to read this or the book, Designing Your Life. They're both really great and talk about how do you attend to those things in your life that can help you grow, move forward, and create your dream best life. Your best dream life? Best dream life. Like, I have those in the wrong order, I think.
These types of tools are great for setting us up to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And continually coming back with a practice of checking in with myself, stating where I'm aiming to go, how I'm going to go about it. These 6 habits are another great way for me to maybe look at that and to gain some more perspective that'll help me dial in, again, my routine, my habits, and just keep iterating. And I know we bring up a lot of new things, and to me it's kind of funny because I'm also focusing on how can I have less but better.
Right.
I think that's going to be another thing that continues to come up as I move forward. Be able to dial in what's truly important and what are the things that I can discard or not give my energy and attention to. Tools like this help me get focused. I mean, that's why it's one of the 6 points here.
Yeah.
Is focus and
thought of you. It's your word of the year.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So anyway.
Just to go along with what you're saying, books like The 6 Habits of Growth really make me realize that I don't have to just sit around and wait for my life to evolve by chance, right?
Yeah, you don't have to wait for your real life to begin. Colin Hay. That's a great song.
Oh, yeah. So we don't have to wait, right? We don't have to wait for our life to just evolve into whatever it might become. We all have agency and we can get in there and make things happen. Things that we want to have happen. And that is why I have a fire under me right now.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
She's glowing, people.
Yeah, I'm grinning ear to ear. So
yeah. Let's spread that around to other people and help them move forward too.
It's
exciting.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get out of here.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
I love you.
Purpose.
Sorry. Oh, that makes me smile.